r/ask Reddit. What is a red flag from an employer that people might not immediately recognize as a red flag? A couple old senior partners, lots of young employees and nothing in between. That means there's no opportunity to move up. They can't get people to stay and can't get lateral transfers. They work young folks for as long as they can. And the young folks leave once they figure out the company sucks. Oh wow, my last dev job was all of this to the letter. Worked in a machine shop for a few months. They didn't offer apprenticeship and the old guys didn't think it was worth their time to teach us new guys. It sucked to be there, so I left as soon as I was able. The company filed for bankruptcy at the beginning of 2019. Everybody is very young in a very old company. I'm working in a company that's decade old, but everyone has been in the company for about 4-5 months maximum. Only the HR has been there for 7-8 years. And honestly, with the shit they are pulling off, I can see why people don't stay even to complete their probation period. Give us the hot goss, internet stranger. Don't leave us hanging. Had an interview somewhere, they offered 2023 starting. Being new in this field, when they asked how much I was expecting to be paid, I said, well, you guys are offering 2023 starting, and being new in the field I think 20 would be good. Their response was, oh, well, that's kind of a red flag for us. Usually when someone starts with us they'll say, I'll take $17 until I can prove to you that I'm worth the $20, so you'll see why we're hesitant. My response then, why would you offer $20 at your low end? I didn't get a call back. I can't imagine they would actually believe someone would buy that. It sounds so phony. Thing is, I could believe it. I think they're an incredibly abusive company that was trying to hone in on someone with high desperation and low self-esteem who'd go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I'll take $14 an hour. That is, if you have me, please. I didn't mean to cheat you, Mr. Boss, sir. I'd never do that to you, sir. Then they'd hire you on for $9 an hour and have crazy impossible demands that they coach you into attempting with. I mean, you don't have to do it. But well, if you're not a team player, or, I guess we were right about you. This is a flag so red that it's dripping blood. When you don't get a review until you ask for a raise, then, all of a sudden, your work is being questioned and you're being berated. My contract was ending and my boss asked me if I would like to renew it because he was very happy with my work. I asked him for some feedback and he said that everything is going great. Then, I asked him for a raise, and suddenly my statistics, that were never mentioned to me or my co-workers before that conversation, were terrible, and I was the second worst employee in the company. Tomorrow is my last day and I'm already working in a different place. Edit. Just an edit to add that a lot of people are confused about my boss's behavior and it can all be explained as, he is a pseudo personal coach. He always tried to manipulate me in the dumbest possible ways. But I took it because I love my job and I only had to talk with him once a month. They claim that overtime isn't mandatory and workers stay longer by choice. Our deadlines make no sense. We work hard, but play hard around here. The job title says they're looking to hire rock stars, or ninjas or gurus or any other dumb buzzwords. I've seen superheroes a ton recently. Vigilantes don't get paid. They do it for the way it makes them feel. When they refuse to tell you what your starting salary would be, or when they just avoid the question altogether. Like I didn't apply to the job to be a part of some family work culture. I came here to get a job and be paid. Is money the only reason you work? Yes it is. Tell them no. But I'm really passionate about the possibilities that having money opens up, like paying my rent and not starving. Asking if I plan to have children in the interview. I was 19. I don't think an interview is the proper place to birth a child anyway. Do you have any other talents? Lies down and goes into labor. Asking if you are somebody who's willing to put in the time to make sure deadlines are met, work is done, or if you're the type of person who leaves when the workday is finished. This is generally corporate speak for we will be forcing you to work unpaid overtime. So you don't hire enough staff, or you don't manage your time effectively? The type of person who leaves when the workday is finished? Absolutely not. I like to leave 5 minutes early to beat traffic in the parking lot. worth trying to rush a decision out of you once the offer is made. I once interviewed with a company where I would have been relocating across the country to work for them. There were 3 rounds of interviews and they left me completely in the dark 4 weeks on end between each round before inviting me to the next round within just a few days of when the interview would take place. After the final interview, it was over a month of silence from them until they made an offer but told me I had less than 24 hours to let them know my decision. I would have been moving to 000 miles away from home to a place I had never been or even seen before. Interviews were completely virtual. They wanted me to start 6 days after the offer had been made. When I asked if there was any flexibility for me to have more time to think it over or have more time to move out there, they said no. They needed the decision the next day, and if I accepted I would be starting in less than a week. I declined the offer. In other words, they hired someone other than you, who quit or was fired, and they needed to replace them ASAP. Which honestly is not necessarily a red flag. I've been hired in such a way in the past, but it was just that they had a very important project about to start. The dude in charge had vacations planned, and they'd heard enough about me that they knew I could take it over smoothly. But of course, if they want you to start ASAP in a job where you shouldn't be that essential, it probably means they overwork their staff or that they don't want you to do too much due diligence before accepting. There's a misery wall when walking into work. When you pass a certain point in the building, the feeling changes significantly. If you know, you know. Yes, I was interviewing at Wafer, in the corporate office. I was in their normal waiting room. Everything was fine and dandy. Then I was sent to sit outside an office near the back of the place where my interviews were going to be held. I sat there 3 minutes, looked around at people, had a sense of dread, and left. I walked out and told the receptionist I can't do this here. It's not what I want, and left. I got called 3 times after that asking if I wanted to reschedule. They seemed way desperate. We normally don't get feedback from candidates, but go ahead is the most passive-aggressive snobby shit coming from HR. If the job description has a non-descriptively massive salary range, $25, $000 $100, $000. So many insurance sales jobs like this. This is a commission-only role. No base salary, but top performers can expect to make $150,000 plus. Salary range, $30, $000, $250, $000. Any job ad that doesn't mention the name of the company should raise suspicions. Doubly so if it's anything to do with sales. Got done by that trick once. Turned up to the interview and the job was going door to door selling vacuums for Kirby vacuums. Ugh. Fell for this once. Answered an ad for an office administrative assistant. Turned out to be selling crappy knockoff toys door to door. And the guy I was paired with was assigned a commercial area, so he pulls up to an auto shop ready to try to sell these mechanics this shit. I went, hey, the train station is over there. I'm going home. He tried to argue. I just walked off. Scammers. When I was first out of college, I didn't really believe a lot of those stories. Then when I started applying, the only things I was hearing back from were sales jobs. Some of them door to door, in-store selling Sable subscriptions, etc. Edit. Yeah, I meant cable. Got a sausage finger issue apparently. Anything that the manager says in the interview that doesn't line up with the job description. Yay, we posted it's a manager level position, but this is actually a coordinator role. Yay, the description says travel is 25%, but it might be closer to 50, it just depends. We did post it as a remote job, but we prefer people to be in the office X days a week. Yay, we phrase it that way in the job description because corporate says we have to. All of those are red flags. Anything a company is vague about should be a red flag. Once we advertised this as a full-time permanent position. But every hire begins as a 1-year contract, so we can get to know you. I've got no issue with a probationary period. But if you're only prepared to do a 1-year contract with a possibility of full-time, put that in the ad. The sink or swim technique. It was my first day as a cashier. I got a couple of hours of training. Then I was by myself and we were dead. All of a sudden this rush came in and I was asking for help. The manager goes, sink or swim. We're busy back here. Figure it out. LOL, I did, but let me tell you, customers were not happy because I still didn't know how to properly enter in orders, especially modifications. I had the same happen to me at Lowe's. I was put up in customer service without any training, all on my own. I straight up told customers that I didn't know how to process their return transaction, make special orders, do internet fulfillment because it was my first day and I had received no training. I called a manager over and the manager received some feedback from the customers. Happened to me a couple years ago working for 7-Eleven. Got hired. My first day the manager left me by myself on the overnight shift. The only thing I was told was how to open the register and that the delivery truck was coming at 2 AM. I then got reprimanded for not doing things that I was never told to do. I quit after a week long fail. I always ask the question, why is this role open? Is it a new role? Or am I replacing someone? Why did that person leave? This really helps you seeing their reaction, and if they look nervous it's because the person who left did it because they were not happy. I also like asking how senior my team members are. If there's no one there more than 2 years I would also be concerned. Final question. As I work in sales, I always ask what's the KPIs and how many are actually hitting their quarterly and annual target. This also reveals if they set their targets too high, and you can expect to enter a grim working culture where you're never good enough and can always do better. Last one. I like asking about how they are working to establish a team culture as well, since this will tell you a lot if people at work are friends or just there to do their job. These are the questions which I asked in an interview a few months ago. Considering Reddit had mentioned this so many times, it's very important who you ask. So the very first round, just after understanding the position, ask the recruiter how many rounds it'll be and who you'll be talking to. It's especially important that this question is asked to your potential direct manager. So, I asked these questions in the interview to the manager and he said the whole team had gotten a promotion. I thought this is extremely good considering they take internal growth seriously. Then he says they took promotions in other companies and basically moved out, lol. I still ended up taking the interview till the last round just to see what kind of people run the place. When the potential manager told that this was his second day and told he didn't know what he was doing and was asking questions from a website, I decided to run for my life. I went on an interview. They had me wait in the lobby. In the 5 minutes I was sitting there, 3 employees walked past me. The first just looked at me and laughed. The second said, leave while you can. The third made the sign of the cross at me. Later, during the interview, the hiring manager showed me the Zen room, which was a quiet room you got to go to for 10 minutes when you got too stressed out. I was offered the job. I declined at it. They walked by separately. At different times you had to ask permission to use the Zen room. I have a Zen room at my job. It's called a stall in the public restroom. It's my crying stall. In food service we use the walk-in cooler for this. It's oddly comforting. When they say, or try to make you sign, anything pertaining to not discussing your wages with other employees, that shit is illegal and it screams that people aren't being fairly compensated for their work. I've literally up and walked the duck out of jobs for this. When they say, or try to make you sign, anything pertaining to not discussing your wages with other employees, oh, I sign that shit. I sign that shit all day and take a picture and or request a copy for my records. Duck yet. Then I go to a labor attorney or the Department of Labor and start planning how to spend my settlement check, because that is highly illegal in the US. Company I used to work for got the shit sued out of them for this. Twice. Once for the violation and again for retaliatory action when they fired the guy who filed suit. Competitive pay, but they won't tell you what the pay actually is in the posting or even the interview. Competitive pay translation: your salary will be competing against your bills. I interviewed once at a very huge organization that had a site in the town I was living in, and these guys were so proud of the new top of the line facilities. When they took me on a tour they pointed out the lovely Zen garden area that was made for employees to go unwind and clear their heads. The problem with it was this area was positioned directly across from all the higher ups offices. A similar one. They had an employee break area with games, TVs, snack machines, etc. But it was completely empty. In the middle of the day, looked like no one had used it in weeks. I had the fortune of working for 2 companies with areas like these that did actually get used. It was really motivational to feel like they trusted you to manage your time so that your work was done well and on time, and also spend a few minutes every now and then playing a round or 2 at the arcade or whatever. One even had a soundproof room with a drum set, guitar, bass, mic, etc. Went there a few times. Once ran into a manager from another project who was heading there, and he asked me if I had a few minutes to play with him. He needed someone on guitar. Pretty cool place, as companies go. Poor communication during the hiring process. To be fair, this highlights the incompetence of their HR recruiter more than your co-workers or boss. It's almost worse when they're too good, purely from a hiring standpoint. I worked a week and a half doing the worst job I've ever had in my entire life and literally walked off the job after my boss threatened to rape someone and the company refused to file my complaint without my boss's approval, i.e., the person who made the threat. Why did I take that job? The recruiter was fantastic. He spent a ton of time outlining what the work was going to look like, all the safety requirements, and how seriously the company took these things. He had so many details about things the company had done to ensure worker satisfaction. Then I showed up on my first day to find that literally none of the things he had covered were actually enforced outside of the corporate office. It was a warehouse job, and my first hour I was left completely alone with a broken pallet jack and told to move refrigerators off of a 5+ foot shelf with no safety equipment or training of any kind. I thought it would get better after that, but it absolutely did not. Also, for no particular reason, duck sears. They're always hiring. I work at a place like this. Totally agree. You might not immediately see that the hiring post never goes down on whatever platform you found it. But yeah, this usually means the company expects a high turnover. After 2 or 3 years there, I was already a member of the old guard. Things are slowly getting better, though. So there is that. Many years ago I started an IT shop with a business partner, who was supposed to be the money guy and nothing else, and he put a now hiring sign up to attract customers, and so you know I can replace you. Couple things wrong with that. 1. Anyone seeking employment at an IT shop should not need anything from an IT shop outside of parts, but anyone sufficiently skilled would know how to source those cheaper than my prices. 2. I walked away after 4 years of really stupid shit. Went corporate. Life's been much better since. And he did replace me with a tech who worked for minimum wage. Surprisingly, the replacement wasn't very good, as in, was unable to tell the difference between a desktop PC and a server. Edit. The place lasted 5 months after I left. Then he hired another tech who took the playbook I left and opened his own shop across town. Open interviews. It tells me that people leave faster than you can bring them in. And with good reason. What's an open interview? Basically targeted towards hourly wage workers. Come in anytime, without an appointment, and we'll interview you on the spot. TBF. With the labor shortage many restaurants, etc. are facing, it's a call of desperation. To me it was a "we will start you low and we'll give you a ton of money later." They never do. Never happens. Cool, it'll be in later then. When an employee quits or gets fired from the job and the company doesn't hire anyone new to replace them, it can be hard to tell as a red flag at first, but the temporary workload they added to your own over that was left over after the person left slowly becomes your new permanent workload, without any changes to your pay or benefits to compensate for the additional tasks. The further out it goes without the position being filled, the larger and more obvious the red flag becomes. This happened to me exactly. In July we had a guy leave. Had a new guy come in from another division to take over. But here it is 6 months later and I'm still covering the former employee's workload as well as my already existing workload. I asked for a raise last month and I was told you need to take more responsibility before you are eligible for a raise. I applied to other companies and am getting offers for 60% more right off the bat. We're a family here, no. We're co-workers. I don't love you. I wouldn't do anything for you. We have boundaries. US Trust said they were like a family during my interview and then asked if my wife was black. Being like family apparently includes having a racist uncle across from you during Thanksgiving dinner. Sorry, no money for your annual raise due to the pandemic. It's a lie. I got a 20% raise at the beginning of 2021. The catch? I'd gotten a 20% pay cut when the pandemic started at it. Okay, don't need any more math lessons. Sorry, what I meant to say was I got a 20% cut then got my full original salary restored. I got a 45% raise in the middle of 2021. The catch? It was at a different company. If you get a tour and everything is old but they say they're in the process of updating, yeah, no, they don't update shit. You're going to be working with broken outdated equipment. 9 out of 10 you're going to get in trouble when it breaks on you. Living that Windows 98 life. Work hard, play hard, you will work so hard. You and your colleagues will need to get totally ducked up at happy hours to cope with the stress. And you must attend happy hours. Oh no, it's not required. If it was required then we'd have to pay you. It's just in your best interests to network. We're just like family. This also usually means they are a bunch of assholes who hate newcomers and change. If many provisions in company policy say except for employees in Colorado and California. Colorado and California have multiple statutes that are more employee friendly than the other 48 states. So the company policy is basically saying we'll do X for employees where the state makes us, but duck the rest of you. The Colorado one applies a lot to postings now because CO requires salary ranges in postings, and we all know employers hate to give those. It's hard to find good workers these days equals I don't pay enough. We work hard and we play hard. Translation: we require you to participate in our toxic workplace culture. In my experience that also means half of your co-workers are functioning alcoholics. The quality of the toilet paper in the bathroom. There are minimal if any cost savings to one ply and it just shows they couldn't care about you at all. This is the best answer I've seen. Toilet paper tells all. The company I work for has always used one ply and I will literally drive 20 minutes to take a shit than risk it. We work hard and play harder usually means we like to be nosy about your personal life. It also means that you will never get a raise or promotion unless you spend hours a week of your precious free time hanging out with your co-workers at a bar after work. Referring to the company as family. Employers are not your family. Family can't fire you. Saying you are work fam or anything else is a guilt trip to make you leave your real family and work extra hours for no pay. My company does this and it grosses me out. It works on our young hires but the older ones roll their eyes. Oh, and saying, this isn't your typical 9-5. That means you are on call 24/7. Also companies that have a cult following and make up their own words. Run. Just run. I know people, rightfully, like to hate on HR, but if a company brags about not having an HR department to deal with, expect them to be very disorganized at a minimum. Nobody works here for the money. Why should they work there, then? At my job interview I got asked how do you deal with drama in the workplace? Looking back, I was so stupid to accept that job. I got asked this, but it was also for a manager position. Honestly I figured it was BC conflicts do arise from time to time between employees. Yeah, number. Those conflicts were everybody sleeping with everybody else. I mean, technically conflicts did rise up lol. Jim, put your conflict away please. We are in a meeting. I once had a job that required a working interview as the final step in the interview process. I basically worked an entire day for free. I had a work interview, was paid minimum wage for it though. When I was properly hired they gave me the posted wage. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content bruh. It's free and that's a great price.